Hello fellow woodworkers, welcome to this week's edition of the Garage Workshop, and in this week's video we're going to be taking this storage unit for my DeWalt organisers and turning it into a wheeled storage cart for my DeWalt organisers. Roll the intro. So fellow woodworkers, earlier in the year I made this storage cabinet for my DeWalt organisers. I'll put a link to the video in the description for this video. I have to say I was very pleased with this at the time. I still think it's very well constructed, and it's one of the things that as I've got better and better at making cabinets, they've got better and better. So the actual quality of this build I'm very happy with. A couple of things I'm not happy with. I use these MDF spacers to get the shelving in the right place. Rather than cutting a groove into the plywood, I put these little spacers in that you can see there. So when I wanted to, I could take the shelves in and out pretty easily. But it has left this MDF on the side, which, to be honest with you, A, looks a bit ugly, and B, isn't as functional as I thought it would be going to be. I quite often get the organisers wedged when I'm taking them out on an angle. They quite often get caught up on these bits of MDF, and I really don't like the way I look. And I did think about a face frame, but I can't really do that because access is needed for these to come in and out. So the plan is to create a sort of multi-stack unit to put these organisers in. So I'm going to put 2 or 3 in like a really basic sort of cabinetry box, probably about this size, and do 2 or 3 different ones, stack them up, put them on casters so that I can keep them against the wall. But then when I need all of my screws, for example, I can just unbolt it, take off the top one, and that leaves the other ones on there. So that is the plan. How close we get to that by the end of this video, I don't know, but that's the plan. And the other thing is, there's quite a lot of this wood that I can reuse, but because I nailed these MDF strips in, which with hindsight was probably not a good idea, I am going to struggle to use some of this MDF now, sorry, some of this plywood. Now, luckily, I've got some offcuts left from when I made the new miter saw workbench, so I've got quite a big piece of 18mm plywood which I can use the sort of outside. A lot of the shelves and things I can reuse, but I am going to address that issue of the MDF. I'm not going for that design again in the second one. So first thing, let's take all of this off. Let's see what we've got when we take it apart and which bits of wood we can reuse. So the first stage was just to clear all the junk off the top, I mean tools, and then take everything out that was in it. It was here that I sort of realised I was not in love with the shelving system that I picked. I then just popped out all the pocket screws. The good thing about the way I constructed this was it was totally breakdownable. So I was able to keep the wood, although the wood did have, you know, pocket hole screws in it. That actually wasn't a bigger deal. So I just broke everything down bit by bit and got all of the finished pieces of wood left over so I could see what I needed. So fellow woodworkers, I've now disassembled the old unit, and I've got some really usable plywood which is in really good nick. Actually, a lot of it's okay. The main thing is I am going to have to sand this off because I use wood glue to stick on the sort of guide rails, the sort of drawer slides if you were, and it's left quite a few remnants. I also realised how many pocket holes I put in this. So the top and bottom of the old unit are in really good condition. It's obviously just the pocket hole screw marks that are in them, so that's not an issue. So what I'm going to do is use this top and bottom, because if I cut it exactly in half, it gives me the right size that I need for the top and the bottom of one of the little cabinet units. So I've essentially got 2 of the little cabinets that I want to make here, so it leaves me 1 more to make, and this I can actually use as the side. So the first sort of couple of cabinets that I want to make in this series, obviously they're not going to be this high. The first couple of cabinets that I'm going to make, I can literally use from here, and then I only have to make 1 more on the top, and then the thing they're going to sit in. And I found some casters that I had lying around in the workshop, so I'm going to put those on the bottom, so it is actually a mobile sort of cabinet because I want to have the ability to move it, and when all of the screws and all the organisers are on it, it's actually really quite heavy. So first stage is to start cutting all this wood, then we can make one, see how we go from there. The one thing I was going to do, I've got all of the shelves that I rescued and they're in pretty good condition. A couple of them are slightly bowed, but I think that's because they had really heavy organisers. The sort of deeper organisers I've got that are totally filled with screws are really heavy, so I'm just going to make sure that I put those on the bottom of the unit, the one that's underneath the wheels, the casters. So I'm going to make sure that I do that and get that right, so that as I go up I can put less in them, because the one that I've got with the biggest amount of bigger screws in it is obviously the heaviest. So next stage, take these top and bottom ones off. I'm just going to then mark up, but I think I am going to use another guide system. I was originally going to route out a little channel in these, but if I do that, it also prevents me from changing the size somewhere along the line. And bearing in mind, I have to make different sized gaps really for the bigger organisers, which are thicker than the smaller ones. So I'm going to keep the bigger ones at the bottom. So I think I am going to use another sort of rail system, but I'm not going to use MDF this time. I'm either going to use some strips of plywood or see I've got some hardwood. So first thing to do, let's start prepping all these and putting it together. So for all of these cuts, I use the absolutely amazing Evolution battery miter saw that I previewed recently on my channel. This piece of kit is absolutely brilliant. Can't recommend it highly enough. It went through the wood like it was a knife through butter. Okay, so I want to make sure that I've got really accurate spacings here. So I've used the taller DeWalt organisers and I've laid them down, and then I've put a little scrap of 12mm plywood, and then I've put the shelf, then I put the organiser, then another scrap, then the shelf, and I've done that all the way up, and that is the top of the unit. So this unit here is going to be the biggest one I make. So I've done that to get the accurate spacings. So now I can measure the length of the side, but what I am going to do is make the sides longer than they need to be. So there's a sort of ridge on the bottom, and then that way I can have a handle on the top. If I put a small handle on the top and I put the next unit above it, then if I put it level and flush it up, obviously the handle won't have any space. So on the bottom of all of the units, I'm just going to leave a skirt, a strip around the edge, and then it can sit on top and the handle will be self-contained. And then I'm going to put some connectors on the side to connect it together. So I've got all the measurements I need. These shelves I've cut down a bit because I'm not putting the bigger plastic tray units, organisers that I've got in the top where they were in my other one. I don't want to do that. I've got lots of other places I can put that. So this is the size of the bigger cabinet. So what I'm going to do now is put this together, make it one proper size cabinet, and then I can move on to the next one. So I started off with the sort of top and bottom. It did take a while to get through this, but I think it's because I was just trying to cut too much in one go. So I went halfway down, then the rest of the way down. And because I had a stop block in place, it was slightly easier to get this to line up. I just took my time. The quality of the cuts coming out of it were brilliant. I then did some lines across the wood you saw there to get all of these sort of spaces in the right place before moving on to the pocket holes. When all of those pocket holes were done, I was just able to offer up and start fixing the cabinet. And as you can see, there is a gap at the bottom, and that is so when this sits on top of the other cabinet, it's got room to hold a handle in it. I'm not sure if that will actually happen. You'll find out why at the end, but the thought was there. And obviously I've now got the space if I do, but it'll be a very specific type of handle. The next thing was to make the strips across the top. I was very pleased to say it was a lovely sunny day, so I was able to take the table saw outside, which helps a lot with the dust generation. So I cut all of the strips down that I needed to go on the top, or the bottom, sorry, of each unit. And these strips will just cover the front and back. where obviously the two sides extended down. So you can just see it was just a simple case. I didn't use any wood glue here. It was just a case of plugging them up, getting them exactly level, and then just popping in a pocket hole screws. And actually those pocket holes were already in the wood, so I didn't need to do those. The recycled wood you can see that was in there from before, so I was literally just able to pop them in. The next stage after that was just to start cutting all of the shelves for the inside, and I then cut the wood for the back. You'll hear me say at the end, I actually really don't like this wood being in there, and I'm going to change it when I can get some plywood. It looks awful in my opinion, and I don't know whatever possessed me to do it, but it will be changed out, and I'm going to put some thin plywood in there, probably 9 or maybe even plywood. And then offered it up to make sure it worked. It was really accurately measured in terms of the diagonals. I then worked on the sort of trolley bit at the bottom that the cast is attached to, and then the sort of edging strip around the side. This holds the shelves in, and it also helps to make it look neater. And then attach the casters to the bottom before putting in the sort of side strips that are going to keep all of that in place. So the last thing was just to test everything fitted, which I was really pleased it did. This project was a real slog, I'm not going to lie. It took a long time, a lot longer than I thought, and was a lot more involved. But sometimes when you're making projects, that's just the way it turns out. So Woodworkers, as you can see, the unit is finished, and I think I rather naively thought this was going to be a quick and easy build. It's turned out to be far from that. The good thing is, if I unplug the feet, unlock the feet, the unit moves around exactly as I wanted it to. So I've achieved my goal. That's the good thing. There's a couple of things that are missing. I've ordered some clips for the side so that these can stay clipped together. They've not arrived yet, and as you can see, I put this edging strip on the top to stop the shelves moving out. Unfortunately, I don't have enough wood to do the bottom shelves. It's late on Sunday and the shops are shut, so I can't get any, but I'll do that first thing tomorrow. The only other thing I'm not happy about is the back of the unit. It is really ugly. I put this MDF on it again, and I just don't think it works. I'd like it to be plywood, so when I get the wood for the stripping at the front, I'll get some plywood from the back. So overall, I'm very pleased with what I've made, because it's achieved the goal that I set out to achieve. But to be honest, it's not as elegant looking as I would have hoped. But then again, it's a piece of furniture for the garage. It doesn't have to be elegant looking. It just has to be functional, and it is definitely that. I did think about putting some handles in to lift these in and out, but to be honest, this unit at the bottom and this one at the top are quite substantial in weight, so I probably won't do that now, just because it'd have to be quite a significant handle, and if it does, it's not going to fit in the gap I've left. So overall, I'm pleased with how it looks. It's quite a big piece of furniture, but when I've rearranged the workshop, it's got a space just at the end where it's going to sit. So overall, happy. Just not so happy with the aesthetics. I think it could look a bit better. If this is your first time on the Garage Workshop, thank you so much for tuning in this video. Please can I ask you to subscribe, like and comment. If you are a regular viewer, thank you again for watching. Again, please like and comment. I just want to give a little bit of feedback on last week's video. Thank you so much to everyone who gave me feedback about the balance of builds and tool reviews. It was really useful. Please don't forget, anyone watching this video, to give me a like and leave a comment. I'll catch you on next week's edition of the Garage Workshop. Take care, fellow woodworkers.